Hello everyone. So we will discuss, questions on this topic of data destruction. So this topic is under domain number 4. So in domain number 4, we have discussed about so many methods of data destruction, data sanitization. Okay, so we are going to look at the exam questions on this topic and how they can try to confuse you and what things you have to keep in your mind. So in the lecture we have discussed various things, but I mean, as of now, I'll be only discussing things which are important for you to keep in your mind, things which are important for you to remember to solve any exam question on this topic. Okay, so let's start. All right. So, in the lecture, we have discussed about, data erasing, overwriting, formatting, degaussing. Then we have also discussed about so many methods of destroying. We have discussed about physical destroy, water damage, fire damage, under physical damage also we have discussed, I mean, partial damage, full damage, so we have discussed about so many things, but from the exam angle, what things you are supposed to keep in your mind, I'll be discussing about that. Okay, so from the exam angle, okay, so you have to keep four things in your mind. Okay, when we talk about this topic of data destruction, you have to keep four things in your mind. And the question can, I mean, if the question will come from this topic, it will come from these important points. Okay, so first thing is they can use the word formatting. Second thing is that they can use the word overwriting. They may use the word data wiping. Okay. Third thing, they can use the word degauss. And fourth thing is that destruction, destroy. Okay. Now, in the exam, if question will come from this topic, it will come from these four important words. Okay. So rank 1, okay, you have to always go for this option first, the fourth one, which is the destruction or destroy. Second rank you have to give to degauss. Third is overwriting or data wiping. And the last option, in fact, even this, there won't be any question, because I hope you know that ISACA doesn't ask negative question. Okay, I mean, for example, ISACA won't say which of the following methods should not be used. Okay, so normally they don't ask negative questions, they normally ask positive question, which things you have to do. Okay, not what not to do. Okay, so question will not come about for this formatting word, but then you have to keep in your mind that this is the least, I mean this will come in the end, in the end, like if these options are not there, then only it will come. But obviously, we all know that it is impossible that the other options are not mentioned, if they ask you question on this topic of data destruction. Okay, so this is the fourth rank. Why I'm saying all these things is because I don't want to even give rank to this formatting, because it is not at all recommended, not at all. Okay, so these are the four ranks. So first option you have to first rank destruction, then degauss, then overwriting or data wiping, and the last or the least preferred is the formatting. Okay, now they won't be asking you, like when we say destruction, whether it's fire damage or water damage, partial damage, they won't be mentioning these kind of words. But in our lectures we have discussed about those things as well. But they won't be asking you so difficult kind of questions. So when they use the word destruction or destroy, they will use the word as it is. All right, yeah. So this is what we have already learned. Okay, now if you look at the good practices, so there is something known as good practices, or even if you look at your own organizations policy, like wherever you're working, and if you get the opportunity to read the policy, and if you just go through it, you will find that most of the organization, when it comes to sensitive information or confidential information, they don't even rely on one method. They use combination of methods. They may say overwriting plus destruction. They may say degaussing plus destruction. So the reason is that they we need to ensure that the data is destroyed 100%. There is no chance of recovery at all. We have to be 100% sure, and especially when the data is too confidential, too sensitive. So in especially in those cases, we don't even follow a single method. The best practice is the combination of methods, so that it becomes impossible for anyone to recover the data. Okay, because there have been cases in which has been seen in the past that even after destruction, the data was able to be recovered. So that's the reason they do combination of things. So our main intention is that when it comes to confidential information or the sensitive information, you need to ensure that the data cannot be recovered at any cost. All right. Yeah. So the discussion is not yet over. We'll be discussing so many things, and we'll be looking at all these questions. So what I am trying to discuss over here is that, okay, so when we talk about the good practices or what the guidelines says, so let's read the guidelines. So NIST guidelines, what does that say, for the media sanitization? So define that the IT asset should be disposed of via a process flow using appropriate roles and responsibilities, and the organization must maintain different levels of security based on what? Based on what? Based on what? Data confidentiality level. Along with the risk based decision of sanitizing media, the organization should also consider the following. Number one, consequences of information retrieval from sanitized media. What can be the negative consequence if the data is retrieved from the sanitized media? You have to understand like this, let's say, for example, let's say the data is worth 1 million US dollars. The data is worth 1 million US dollars. You won't you spend 15 or 20k US dollars to recover? You will, right? In fact, even if I say that the data is worth 1 million US dollar, will you spend 1 lakh US dollar? Will you spend 100k US dollar to recover that data? Yes, right? Because the data is worth 1 million US dollars. So what I'm trying to say over here is that the data is so sensitive or so confidential that you won't mind hiring the expert, the group of expert people, for you to recover the data. You will do any damn thing. If the data is worth $1 million, you will do any damn thing. You will go till the best of your extent. You will contact the best experts in the market so that the data can be recovered. Okay, so this is something which you need to keep in your mind. Okay, what can be the consequence? So it all depends upon how data is sensitive or confidential, right? Then cost involved, I don't think so this is very much important. It could be important for less confidential data, but definitely not for the confidential one. Risk factor for the duration for which the data remains sensitive. Okay, now I was also, because you have to understand one thing, so this topic of overwriting and damage and degauss, it's always been a debatable topic. Some people say that even destruction is not fully safe. That's the reason, I have discussed earlier that, we try to combine, combination of methods. The reason is that there have been cases in the past which have been, which the market had seen, that data was, recovered from the sanitized media. So that's the reason we try our best to combine the methods, more than one. Okay. Now, when I was just going through the Wikipedia, what does that says about this particular, topic. So, I just found this thing, so I thought, let me discuss that with you. What it says is that permanent data erasure goes beyond data file deletion commands, which only remove the direct pointers, the data, disk sectors, and make the data recovery possible with common software tools. Unlike degaussing and physical destruction, which renders the storage media unusable. Data erasure removes all the information while leaving the disk operable. New flash memory based media implementations such as SSD or USB flash drives can cause data erasure techniques to fail. They are saying that, when they are using data erasure, they are using the term data wiping or overwriting. Okay. You have to keep one thing in your mind, the chart which I have given to you. Formatting will never come. Okay. It could, the third rank was the overwriting and or formatting. Sorry, overwriting or data wiping. So when they say data erasure here, they are mentioning the data wiping. So, again, this is what I have mentioned, so this entire topic in itself, it is debatable. Some people will say, okay, no, overwriting means, the data cannot be recovered, it is impossible. They have their own reasons, and it is true also. It is almost, it is impossible to recover. But you have to understand one thing. The thing which I was saying, if the data is worth $1 million, I will try my best. I'll try my best to recover the data. I'll go to the best of my extent. I'll do anything at any cost, right? Because the data is worth it, right? So this is something which you need to keep in your mind. All right. So yeah, it is impossible, but then, if the data is worth it, we will try our best, right? So let's come back to our discussion. All right. So I hope that you have these you have these 4 points in your mind. So let's keep these 4 points in our mind, and let's try to solve the questions on this topic. All right. All right. So let's look at questions on this topic. Okay. So the first question is a hard disk containing confidential data was damaged beyond repair. If the goal is to positively prevent, if the goal is to positively prevent, if the goal is to positively prevent access. So why I'm repeating all these words is because, you have to get that reading skills. You have to grasp the emotion of the question, what that question is trying to convey. The question will definitely give you some hints when they use some words. For example, if they use the word confidential data, you have to imagine when they use the word confidential, it means it is damn confidential, it is really confidential. Those words, so there are, the question will definitely give you lots of hints. If not lots of hints, at least, one or two hints. And these are the hints, these words. It is trying to convey its emotion, saying that if my goal is to positively prevent access to the data by anyone else, anyone else, even the employees, anyone else. When I'm saying anyone else, it means your internal people as well as external people. Okay, so when we were discussing in domain 5, so that time I have discussed that there are outsiders, hackers, and then there are insiders, your own employees. We want security from both these people, right? So these words are trying to convey information. So it's saying that access to the data by anyone else, what should be done to the hard disk before it is discarded? Okay, option number A, overwriting. Option number B, low level formatting. Option number C, degaussing. Option number D, destroying. The correct option is option number D, destroying. Okay, now again, if you try to search on the Wikipedia, they will say degaussing is more secure than destroying. This is something which I have already told you in before, that this entire topic in itself could be debatable, to some extent. I mean, honestly it is impossible, but then to some extent some people can, they can, argue with you. Okay, no, this is not the best thing, that is the best thing. Okay, but you have, if you want to clear this exam, you have to follow ISACA mindset. So what ISACA says is that for them, destroying is the best option. Okay, rank one. Okay, so we have to go with ISACA's method here. All right, let's look at the other question. All right, next question. An organization is planning to repurpose workstation. An organization is planning to repurpose. Okay, now you have to understand one thing. When we say degaussing, when we say destroying, degaussing and destroying. If you do degaussing, or if you physically destroy, okay, not partial damage, full damage, the hard disk cannot be reused. It becomes unusable. Okay, I mean, you cannot use it back. All right, this is something which you need to keep in your mind. And when we say degauss or when we say destroy, it means that that particular hard drive cannot be reused. Okay, but here the question is clearly saying what? Repurpose, reuse. Okay, now not reuse. Reuse is a different question. We will discuss about that also. Here the question is saying repurpose. The organization is planning to repurpose workstation that were used to handle confidential information. That were used to handle confidential information. Again, try to capture the emotions of this question. So the question is giving you hints. Okay, first they are saying repurpose, then they are themselves contradicting their own point. They're saying, okay, that were used to handle confidential information. Okay, okay, which of the following would be IS auditors best recommendation? Third hint, this is hint number one, repurpose. Hint number two, confidential information. Hint number three, IS auditors best recommendation. Why I'm saying hint number three is because the ball is in the court of the auditor. Okay, we are not deciding. We as an auditor, the question is asking, as an auditor, what you will advise. The ball is in the court of the auditor. We have given you lots of information. We have given you point number one, point number two, and then we are saying on the basis of these 2 points, now you decide what you will be doing. Hint number one, repurpose. We want to repurpose this work session. Point number two, okay, we want to repurpose, but this is confidential. The system used to handle confidential information. Okay, so I am keeping in front of you these two information. Now on the basis of your knowledge, your experience, your judgment, your skill, you recommend us which of the following would be the IS auditor's best recommendation. Hint number three, Okay, the ball is in your court. You want to give the decision to dispose of this information. Option number A, overwrite the disk with random data. Override the disk with random data. Okay, one more thing which I think I forgot to discuss about the overwriting. Okay, when we say overwriting, it's not a simple process. So overwriting means you want to overwrite onto all sectors of the drive of the device or the drive or the device in an irreversible process by using zeros and ones. What we're saying over here is that we want to make sure that we want to overwrite to such extent. We are not just overwriting a single time. This process of overwriting, multiple times the data is overwritten and onto all sectors of the device to an extent the data becomes irreversible. To an extent to the data becomes irreversible. Okay, this is something we are assuming. Okay, now, I mean, when we talk about the word destroy or destruction, again there also we are assuming that the question is talking about full damage, not partial damage. Because if you just even if you do a Google search, you will understand that partial damage drive can the data can easily be recovered. Okay, so you have to keep these words in your mind. When we say confidential, the data could be less confidential, medium confidential, but when we say confidential, we are keeping in our mind that confidential means highly confidential, right? Okay, so I just wanted to discuss about overwriting, what exactly it means. So when we say overwriting means we are overwriting onto all sectors of the device in an so that the data cannot be recovered at all. Okay, all right, but still you have to understand, but still the best practice, the guidelines will always recommend, or even if you can just go and refer your own organization's policy. There also it will be mentioned about the use of degaussing and destruction. In fact, in my organization where I'm currently working, they have clearly mentioned combination of both degaussing and destruction. Okay, anyways, option number A is override the disk with random data. Option number B, reformat the disk. Formatting will never come. Option number C, erase the disk by degaussing. Option number D, delete the disk partition. Okay, now, now you have to understand one thing. Okay, the question by itself is trying to contradict. They are using two words. Initially, they are saying repurpose, then they are saying confidential. The question arises is that as an auditor, the number one question which will arrive, which you should be asking to the auditee is that why the hell you want to repurpose the workstation which used to handle the confidential information? Because you need to understand it also depends upon the industry in which the client is operate the client's business is. Okay, uh, if for a particular industry, maybe like banking industry, or maybe the hospital and healthcare industry, whatever it could be, it has to even comply with their own regulation. So maybe as an auditor, you might even have to, understand, what the regulations is, because you have to understand the word they have used is handle confidential information. So when they use the word, confidential, the question, should come in your mind that why the hell you want to repurpose. I mean, as an auditor, I would, talk about degaussing or destruction. I will not even say overwriting, because overwriting, it's a lengthy process. It's a lengthy process. It takes time. In fact, we have also discussed something here. Risk factor for the duration for which the data remains sensitive. So, that's why we say, whether when we talk about degaussing, we say whether it is on-site degaussing or off-site degaussing. If it is off-site, so, the data is still what? It is insecure during the transportation, right? So, that's why on-site it is advisable. So on-site you degauss, and then you take the data, and then you dispose or destroy. Okay, then you can destroy the data. Okay, so the risk factor for the duration of for which the data remains sensitive, because this process of overwriting, it's a lengthy process. It takes days to weeks of time in order to fully overwrite the data. All right, because overwriting is done onto the all sectors of the device, which we have just discussed about. So it's a lengthy process basically. Okay, and second thing is that when you are saying, I mean, if I'm the question drafter, so and if I need to check your knowledge, I will give you all this information, and then the answer should be what? Here, degaussing. Okay, I'll keep the answer as degaussing. Okay, but then uh, if you look at the answers, I mean the answer for this particular question, they say the answer as overwriting for the single word, which is the repurposing the workstation. Okay, but you need to understand that like if we think logically, the answer can be degaussing, because I have told you that it is asking, I mean the it is asking your advice as an auditor, what advice you will give to the auditee. Okay, so the advice as an auditor, I will never recommend the organization to repurpose. Again, the repurpose also, maybe like from one department to the other department. The data previously was stored for the HR department. Now they want the particular system to store some other department's data. Okay, so internally also, we as an organization, you may not want your data to be leaked out to even the other departments, right? Because of the word used, confidential. And also, if there is privacy regulations, for example, the country in which you're operating, there they have privacy regulation. You'll have to even follow those regulations. If that regulations clearly mention, if the information is private, we have discussed about PII, personally identifiable information. So in that particular case, you know they may definitely advise for decausing and destruction. All right, so here the question arises is that why do you want to even repurpose? But anyways, my intention was to make you ready for all the permutation and combinations. So keep in your mind that when they use the word repurpose, you have to go with overwrite as the option. And again, we are assuming that when we say overwrite, overwriting to the extent that it becomes irreversible or irrecoverable. All right, next question. So you know what? So previously they kept this question. This is one of the past exam questions. So they use the word confidential, but then they later on they revise their own question, and then they remove the word confidential. They remove the word confidential, and now the new kind of question says is that, okay, which of the following is the best way to sanitize the hard disk for reuse? And previously they mentioned repurpose. Okay, there could be difference between these two terms also. Repurpose means you are changing the purpose altogether, and reuse could be what? The system could be used for the same purpose, but you are just reusing it. Okay, so there's a difference between these two terms also, but we will not go in depth. But anyways, so they tried to change the words of the question so that it doesn't contradict itself. Okay, so which of the following is the best way to sanitize a hard disk for reuse to ensure the organization's information cannot be accessed? Again, they have used this word, information cannot be accessed. Initially they are saying reuse, again they are saying information cannot be accessed. Okay, but anyways, you have to understand one thing, that here whenever in the question, if they use the word reuse, if they use the word repurpose, you have to go with what? Either data wiping or overwriting. All right. So here the options are option number A, partitioning, degaussing, formatting, data wiping. Answer is data wiping. Okay. So when they use the word repurpose or reuse, then only you have to go with this option of data wiping or overwriting. Otherwise, honestly, you know, they won't ask you this kind of question. But this question was asked in the past, so that's why I thought let's discuss this question, because I'm sure that this many students would be having confusions in their mind that which option to go for. So when they use the word repurpose or this thing, you have to go with overwriting, or else otherwise if they don't use the word, you have to follow ISACA's way, which is rank 1 destruction destroy, rank 2 decausing, rank 3 overwriting, and in the end least preferred is the formatting option, right?